let's take a look at Wednesday. 10 games on, preview streamers, who's in, who's out, what is important for us to know. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and it was me who snuck up on Michael Strahan. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. There are 10 games on Wednesday. I'm just checking to see if there's any late ones because I didn't realize that on Tuesday's games, which haven't happened yet, it is an incredibly late game. I hate that the NBA is pushing. I loved it 2 years ago. They started pushing games back in terms of start time to where we'd have the latest games would start probably 7 p.m. Pacific. Now we've got games starting 8 p.m. Pacific. Bro. Oh, I don't like that. But on Wednesday, we're all right. We don't have any of those. We've got the 7 p.m. Pacific as the late game. We're here on the Daily Look Ahead to take a look at Wednesday, which is a streaming day for most of you. For some of you, you'll be in an unfortunate situation where the way that your teams look, you may not be able to stream, but for the vast majority of you, you will be okay in doing that. So let's take a look at probably the big storylines I think that we need to be paying attention to across Wednesday in the league. There are there's obviously more than that. There's 20 teams in action. But I think the big one is what the hell is going to happen in Indiana. Not only did they waive James Wiseman, RIP, but they brought back Mac McClung. Well, not brought in Mac McClung, who I don't think we need to worry about. But now we get the news that Obert Toppin is out for at least a month with a hamstring injury. You can probably go ahead and drop him. Benedict Mathurin is week to week with a toe sprain. That could turn into months. We haven't had an update on Andrew Nembhard. It's bad. So we're going to have to see guys like your mate, camcorder legend, RayJ Dennis. You're going to see maybe Tony Bradley. You're going to see National Tiles mascot, Jarace Walker, probably playing good minutes. I tweeted this out today, and I hate doing that. I hate tweeting something and saying on the podcast, but I know audiences are crossover and are different. But there is a scenario this season where the number one pick in the NBA draft goes to the Indiana Pacers. A pick that was held by the Pelicans, who traded it back to the Pacers. There is another scenario where the number 2 pick or the number 1 pick ends up being the actual Pelicans with their bad record. There is a scenario where the number 1 and number 2 pick is the Pacers, should have been the Pelicans, and the Pelicans should have been the Pelicans. And it goes to the Pacers and the Hawks. Yeah, that is possible. The Celtics frontcourt, we're going to talk about that quite a bit today because we saw an interesting little development appear yesterday, and he's one of the big streaming options for today, and that is, of course, Josh Minott, who I think will start, but I don't know. I've got him projected about 26 fantasy points. He's a steals legend as well for category leagues, but we've seen them go from Hauser to Gonzalez and now to Minott. I hope Minott sticks. He's the best player out of that group. He's the best fantasy producer out of that group. Also, he must have been sick on media day because there is no headshot of him wearing his Celtics uniform, so I had to dig up the old one. But he is... he's an option there for us to stream in, and one of the big stories of what he does and then how they also utilize Nemesh Keita, because Luke Cornett played pretty well in the last game as well. And then in Sacramento, I do want to focus on this because Levine has 2 assists for the season. Sabonis is like completely different to the guy that he was pre-February last season. He's not really involved passing-wise. His usage is down. How does all that work? Where does DeRozan fit in, and Westbrook and Schroeder? The whole Kings team is a mess. It was a predictable mess, but it's a mess, and I want to see how some of that stuff shakes out, where Keon Ellis gets chucked in as well into that grouping. Let's look at some of the major injuries to take a look at the ones that we need to, probably the big ones and the replacements that are going to be important for us across on Wednesday when we get these updates. Does Zion play? That's obviously huge. I'm leaning towards probably yes, but I don't know. They started Jeremiah Fears last time out. It did not go well. I would expect that Fears might get another go, but I think that we get a little bit more of the Blizzard, Derek Queen, and that's interesting, although Eve Misi is back, but I think Queen's interesting. Dylan Brooks in Phoenix, amazingly, this is important because Brooks has been very good for fantasy, but with him out, both Royce O'Neal and Colin Gillespie went absolutely crazy. And you would add and use both of those guys. And then Asar Thompson has popped up as ill on the Pistons injury report. If Asar misses, rugged Ronnie Holland II, RH Do, I was going to say Juice, I was going to say Duh, I was going to say two, and it came out as Do. The Do. Ronnie Holland. I would think, especially with Karis LeVert, iffy, I would think that Ron gets a big bump in that scenario. And that, of course, will mean that he is up there on the streaming list for us. Let's take a look at what the actual games are for the day and how they shake out. Again, we're going to just go through this stuff a lot quicker because stuff adjusts so often when we're doing this. And this is, I think, a format that's working for me in terms of time investment and I think utility as well. Rockets, Raptors, Cavaliers, Celtics. That could be a real blowout. Magic, Pistons. The Magic need to get on track. Their offense is horrendous. Hawks and Nets. The Nets, we're going to watch this because what do we get? 35 Cam Thomas minutes or 25? And the same goes with Porter. Kings and Bulls, the undefeated Chicago Bulls, sorry. Who we're pretty confident with what Chicago's doing, but the Kings, I said we need to watch this. Pacers, Mavs. Like, the Pacers are obviously a ton of mess, but the Mavericks as well. Does Gafford play? Does Lively play? What does it mean for D'Lo? What the hell happens with this flag at point guard silliness? This is giving, obviously not the same player, but remember when Jeremy Sohan started at point guard? Trailblazers, Jazz. The Jazz have been very good, and Larry Markkinen is cooking at the moment. And I'm not sure how it holds, but bloody hell, he looks good. Pelicans, Nuggets, Lakers, Wolves. The Lakers are completely banged up. I tell you what I don't like about this over the Lakers. You see the media talking about the Lakers, mate. They might only have 7 players available. They might have to list an injured player as active just to meet the minimum threshold. But of course, when people are saying that, they're ignoring the fact that they've got 3 two-way guys they can play. It's just 7 out of their 14 regular roster players. Cool. That's true. But they have 3 other players. Chris Magnon, Bronny James, and Nick Smith. They could just play those guys. And they did. So I don't know why that narrative, maybe it's just me, I saw it a couple of places, people go, oh, they got 7 guys out, they have to list an injured guy active so they can meet the threshold. They don't. They got 10 guys. So I don't know why we're using this designation of 7 of their main roster out. Yeah, but they got 3 other guys too. Anyway, who cares? Grizzlies Phoenix is the last game of the day as well. And there is interest in that one because Memphis has been just all over the shop. Phoenix is just spouting big production everywhere. And Mark Williams played a lot of minutes. Is that happening? Is he back to 30? I hope so. I don't know if there'd be a reason to scale back on it, so we watch that really closely. Let's go through the games and just have a look at where we sit injury-wise in some of these. Finney Smith's going to be out for Houston, but Jakob Poeltl is doubtful. That means that you can look at Sandro Mamakilishvili, but I'd be way more interested in Colin Murray-Boyles. I think in the end, it's probably not going to be a perfect stream scenario, but Poeltl, we talked about his back quite a bit. I think that led to the poor performance and the fouls. And now we don't have a full diagnosis on him. It's just that he's not likely to play in this game, which is good that there's at least a reason for it, even though the reason's not good for a big man. The next game is the Cavs and the Celtics. Garland's going to be out and Sam Merrill has been ruled out as well. So that'll mean Jalen Tyson gets that extra little bump. And Lonzo Ball's been playing pretty well. He'll be back into this game too. Jaylen Brown just keeps, you always just got to listen. Just keeps saying little things. Oh, my hamstring, I wanted to play. We needed to get that win. It's still a little bit sore. Don't be shocked if Jalen sits an upcoming game this week. They've got a really packed in schedule. They did get themselves their first win. Don't be shocked given what their goals are this season that Jalen sits a game coming up here. The next game we look at, we go to the Magic and the Pistons. Jamal Cain, Colin Castleton, who cares? Marcus Sasser, Karis LeVert, questionable. Asar Thompson, questionable, while Jalen Suggs will return. This is the first of a back-to-back for the Magic, so Suggs will play in this one, and he'll sit the game on Thursday. That's what we know. Not that we care at all about Tyus Jones, but Suggs will be available in this game. The next game, as Obi just wanders into the room. How's it going, big fella? Hawks and the Nets. Zaire Williams missed the last game. With him out, you saw Jalen Wilson and Tyrese Martin playing, for those of you in double onyxes. Jalen Johnson and Zachary Ricochet are both labelled as probable. I don't expect there's any problem there. While Yegor Dioman missed the last game on a back-to-back, so he's returning and he is available, ready to go. The next game, we just run through quickly what the current statuses are here. Kings and the Bulls, the only real thing, obviously Keegan Murray is still out. I'm not listing super long-term injuries here. Kobe White's still out too, but Nick Clifford will remain sidelined, and that's really where we're at with that at the moment. I've got 5 more games to talk about, plus some schedule hacks and streaming options coming up. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that can help make a big difference for business owners is Quo, which used to be known as OpenPhone. I've talked about OpenPhone on here for ages. You've heard me talk about this great phone business system. It's just got a new name now. And this is why it matters, because every call that you miss is an opportunity to connect with a customer. It's gone. And when you have and trying to build a business, you need that open ability to communicate and connect 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system, streamlining customer communications, working through an app on your phone so you don't have to carry 2 phones, one in each pocket. You don't have to do that anymore. It's all just on the one. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That is quo.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you've got an existing number with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that is sad. Software as a disservice, and that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place, helping millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. It is simple to use, gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything that they touch. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That is rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. Let's get in now and talk more about these other 5 games where we're sort of sitting at with them for the look ahead on these games, and then we'll get into schedule stuff and streaming play. Cooper Flagg hurt his shoulder last game. I'm listing him questionable at this point. We'll see if he is out. We also got Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford questionable. I got Brandon Williams questionable. He just got arrested like 2 minutes before the news came out that he was arrested. He'd already missed a couple of games for personal reasons, and I guess the personal reason was being arrested because apparently weed is illegal in Texas. So he's not likely to be there. Lively, Gafford, and Flagg, they're obviously big swing pieces in terms of how the rotation works. Does Jaden Hardy play at all? What happens to PJ Washington's minutes? And Max Christie becomes viable if a bunch of these guys are out also. So we need to pay attention there, especially if Flagg is solid. I'd imagine that D'Angelo Russell would have to start in that scenario because their point guard depth is obviously horrific. The next game, Trailblazers, Jazz, Collier's going to be out, Nyang's going to be out. Matisse Thybulle missed the last game for Portland. Scoot's going to be out. Now, with Thybulle out, it doesn't really change a huge amount. It limits his ability, obviously, if he's not playing, limits his ability to be a steals stream guy. And Utah, we've got their rotation relatively solid at the moment with no changes. Likely, I don't think, at this point, unless we see a big bump from Ace Bailey. Pelicans, Nuggets, Looney's going to be out. Obviously, the big one we're going to watch is Zion Williamson. If he is out, what do they do? Is it Bay? Is it Queen? Is it Fears? Who's the one that gets that benefit there? And then in Denver, Cam Johnson left last game with shoulder soreness. It doesn't sound like it's serious. If he is out, I would expect you're either going to get Peyton Watson or Bruce Brown slides in, which is possible, shifting Christian Brown up to the 3, and Brown would become somewhat of a streamer without being a super enticing one. The second last game of the day, we are talking the Lakers and the Wolves. Doncic, LeBron, Kleber, Thiero, all out. Jackson Hayes and Marcus Smart questionable, although JJ Redick said he thinks those guys are going to be available, which will have an impact on players. And then in Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is out. And then the other one that is important is Jalen Clark. If Jalen Clark does play, does that mean that Terrence Shannon gets those 20 minutes again? Or does he get deprioritized and Clark gets the 20? Because I didn't really know what to think of Shannon because the game that Edwards got hurt, he barely played. And then he got 22 minutes in the next one. And we saw Dillingham in the rotation. But is that because Edwards was out? Or is it because Edwards and Clark were out? And we'll get an idea of that if Jalen actually does play here. The final game of the day. It is the Grizzlies. And it is the Suns. Jalen Green will be out. Vince Williams remains out for Memphis. And then the big one is going to be revenge game legend Dylan Brooks. Because We are streaming Dylan Brooks. We are using Dylan Brooks, but if he is out, both Gillespie and Royce O'Neal are in play. And of course, we do really want to see what ends up happening with Mark Williams and what his playing time looks like, because he played huge minutes and he was really good in that game the other day. Let's take a look at some schedule-based hacks, ways that we can take advantage of that, which is always an important way to be able to beat your opponent while also being sensible about it and not wasting opportunities or dropping guys that you shouldn't. In terms of back-to-backs, there's only a couple of teams involved in back-to-backs. The Kings go Tuesday to Wednesday into the back-to-back, so they'll be on the second night. The Magic start a back-to-back Wednesday to Thursday. We already know that Jalen Suggs is playing on Wednesday, though, and he's the only real guy at risk there. And the Kings don't, unless they sit Sabonis, I don't think there's any real concern with them. Chunks, which is just a 5-day grouping of quality games, that takes us through to Sunday. These players, and consequently the teams they play for, have 3 games over the next 5 nights. And there is a lot of value here. Aaron Nesmith should just be on rosters. Trey Jones is a must-roster player. Grayson Allen is a must-roster player. I would say that Nesmith and Jones are actually 130-player league deep must-rosters. Allen's a 150-player 12-team league guy. Josh Minott with 3 games in. Now, Minott, remember, first 3 games, 28 minutes total. 4th game, 28 minutes. If we get another Josh Minott start, we are all in. And if you want to live by the 35th commandment, one day I'll do it. One day I'll do a list of all my commandments and I'll get someone, a stonemason perhaps, to engrave it for me and have a big stone tablet. One of the things is, if you want it, get ahead of it. We can wait to get more proof on Josh Minott. Look, I don't care. I wouldn't have cared about waiting for proof on Hugo Gonzalez because I didn't think he was good enough from a fantasy perspective. Minott is. And if he's a 27-minute a night player, the top 100 is not outrageous. It's probably not going to happen, but it's not outrageous. So we get ahead of it. And then Wendell Carter Jr., who's just available everywhere. Yeah, his percentages have been trash. I don't think they will be that bad. But his role is secure. He is getting a lot of rebounds. And he just should be rostered. But now you've also got 3 games, 5 nights for your Orlando Magic. What about 5s and 2s? You know us, we're not calendar biased here. We want to pay attention to every 7-game stretch. So the San Antonio Spurs, starting Wednesday through to next Tuesday, play 2 games. So if you're debating, what do I do with Julian Champagny? Do I care about Luke Cornett? Is Keldon Johnson's hot shooting sustainable? No. Do I really want to get myself involved in the Harrison Barnes business? Of course you don't. Should I drop Steph Castle? Probably not yet, but we'll see. Am I committing to Dylan Harper? Yeah, but only 2 games over the next 7 nights makes it a little bit more difficult. We should go and do some streaming, I think. So who are the streams of the day for Wednesday's 10 games at the current time that I'm recording this? This is risky. Josh Minott is risky. But I think that if he plays 26 minutes, he will be one of the best available players out there. For 12-teamers, category leagues, 150 players deep, Lonzo Ball. For deeper formats, and he will rise to the top of this list, the Basmati man, Royce O'Neal. I've got him there for 175 player leagues, 14 teams. But if Brooks is out, O'Neal we grab in all spots and stream him in. And then for your deeper formats, your 200 player deep leagues, your 16-teamers and deeper, Jake LaRavia. The shooting has been terrible, but the role is strong. Now, Marcus Smart returning will have an impact. Jackson Hayes, not really. But still, we've got all those other guys out, and LaRavia is useful for us. Now, both Trey Jones and Grayson Allen are still available in lots of spots. For Yahoo points, Trey Jones at like 31% rostered is a great ad. And then on ESPN, Grayson Allen is also available in a lot of spots that you can go and take a look at. We're going to dig deeper into some streaming options. We'll come back to that in a sec. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by Peloton and the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, which is powered by Peloton IQ. It is the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching, tracking your reps, suggesting the right weights, and correcting your form, making every rep safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, let's dig in now and just go through some final streaming lists for Wednesday in the NBA. We'll start, of course, where we do with 10-team, 130-player deep category leagues. of course, we've got Minott at the top there, and things will change as more players get ruled in or out. But Lonzo Ball, Royce O'Neal, Jake LaRavia, and yeah, I do think Mr. Black is worth it, even with Suggs available, because Black has played like 29 minutes the last 2 games. Now, it does help in the games where Suggs was not there, but Black has seemingly pushed Tyus Jones to the wayside and sort of out of discussions. So Black is playing backup 1 minute and backup 2 minutes. And he's giving you these nice across-the-board defensive stats. I still don't think he's a particularly strong player or an elite upside fantasy guy, but he's doing enough at the moment, and the role is strong, which is what we care about. For 150-player deep leagues, we go to 12-teamers. Keon Ellis, Ben Shepherd, Jared Vanderbilt, Faderpants Kevin Huerter, and Jarace Walker, who I would expect, with Toppin, Nembhard, Mathurin all out, he has to play. Now, he is going to be, I think, rough at potentially both percentages. But it's possible you get like 10, 6, 5, a steal block. That's okay. That's all right. I don't mind even adding him, not even just for Wednesday, but adding him with everyone out and seeing what happens. It might be terrible, and we might still have problems with Jackson and Huff and Bradley coming in there and mixing and matching, but there are opportunities now with no Toppin that Walker has to do more. In deep leagues also, I'd hope the Dildo Johnny Furphy is able to get healthy and play. And then, of course, there is old mate, the camcorder legend, RayJ Dennis. That'll be an option for us. Let's look at some deeper leagues, like 175, 200-player deep leagues. Jalen Tyson should start with Sam Merrill out. He doesn't do huge amounts scoring-wise, but he can just add little bits and pieces across the box score. Tony Bradley, I feel like he might get a start. Huff is there, Jackson is there. If you could try any of those guys, it's not really decided at this point, but I feel like it's possible. Colin Gillespie, especially if Brooks is out. Now, if Brooks is out, we move Gillespie even higher up. Mike Conley, who's going to start, I would assume, without Anthony Edwards again, and he's useful enough here. And same with the big fella in Memphis, Jock Landau. Now, they did sign Devin Vassell's brother, Charles Bassey, and Bassey is an excellent permanent fantasy producer. And Bassey, Thomas Isolo said that Bassey's going to play some minutes, which actually really hurts Santi Aldama if you were getting excited there. Bassey's only a deep league guy, maybe even 250-player deep leagues. But for the short term, he might be something. We've got points leagues to talk about. So let's start by just looking at Tre Jones, who has been really awesome this season. I'm projecting he's going to start. There's no question there. He's already averaging 39 fantasy points a game, so he just hasn't been added. I don't get it. Add him everywhere. He's an elite assists and steals guy as well. And there is a chance there's long-term value. Isaac Okoro is not very good. And yeah, it'll be iffy to see what happens when White and Giddey are there. How does Jones fit in? But I think he can still find enough minutes to be useful enough to hold to see how it develops. There are some players that when someone comes back, they go from 24 minutes as a starter to 0 minutes. Jones would be someone that you use, and then when other guys come back, he might play 26, and we see a gradual drop, and then we make a call later on. Some other Yahoo points stream guys, Wendell Carter Jr., Grayson Allen, Aaron Neesmith, and I was surprised that Tari Eason is 31% rostered on Yahoo. It's just too low. Now, he's not as good in points leagues as he is in category leagues, I believe. We saw a really good game from him last time, but encouragingly, the last 2 games from Eason, we've seen the minutes rise up. And that's more interesting. And then for ESPN points leagues, we're going with Grayson Allen, Aaron Neesmith, Wendell Carter Jr., Josh Minott, and then, of course, the Npitsu. Rui Hachimura, Japanese Harrison Barnes. There is still those guys out. Marcus Smart might return, but Hachimura has the opportunity. He's really lowly rostered on ESPN as well. He's got the opportunity to actually take advantage of guys being out for, you won't hear me recommend Rui Hachimura as an ad very often, but now is the time that I'm doing it. And that is a bit of a cheeky preview for the games on Wednesday, 10 of them. We'll be back with a full recap of Tuesday's games, of course, coming up, which I'm sure you're excited for. There's going to be a lot happening there, as there is every day in the NBA and across fantasy basketball. Did a show earlier today on rookies you can go check out. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.